sway.
Swim so free.
The Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
This kind of reminds me of the Frasier music.
It does.
I don't think it was written by the same people, though.
Welcome to Tune In Next Week. Another episode of Tune In Next Week. This is the podcast where we watch, review, discuss TV shows of yesteryear and beyond. I am your host, Brian, and with me is my co-host, John. What's happening?
What is up, good sir? How are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I am feeling fantastic.
Me as well. This is another episode. This is the show Everybody Loves Raymond.
And I am one who loves Raymond.
I also love Raymond.
And it's true. Everybody loves Raymond.
Everybody loves Raymond, except maybe Robert. You know, Robert loves Raymond too.
He does. He does.
In his own way.
Indeed. But this is episode 24 of Tune In Next Week. And we are doing Everybody Loves Raymond because it's true. Everybody loves Raymond.
Well, an ulterior motive. This was on my list of shows to do, but recently one of my favorite actresses, she's had a pretty storied career, but the mother, Marie Barone, the actress Doris Roberts, just passed away a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I thought it was appropriate to kind of bump it up in the lineup and kind of talk about one of my favorite episodes.
I love it, and I would love to say that I'd like to dedicate this episode to her.
Absolutely, I would as well like to dedicate this to Doris Roberts.
Indeed, so Doris, thank you for your wonderful and very hilarious times on screens, both big and small, because she's done quite a few movies and she's done quite a bit on TV. She's even done some Broadway work, so she's truly graced us with some really, really funny moments, and we will be forever appreciative.
Before we get too far into this, and before you get too far away from the Doris topic, besides Everybody Loves Raymond, what is your favorite role that she's done? Do you have one? Can you think of one offhand?
The only thing that comes to mind offhand would be when she played one of the grandmothers and one of the mothers in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Really?
Yeah, she was. I just remember when Chevy Chase was outside just after he just finished putting all the lights on the house. He has this great big fanfare moment. He's about to plug in the lights and start the house. Nothing happens, but Doris Roberts is standing out there with like a glass of wine. She's half in the bag, and she's like, looks good. She's, she just. I don't think I'm doing the explanation justice, but I just remember her being in that movie, and just it was a minor role, but she was brilliantly funny.
I remember the scene. Very, very funny. My personal favorite is her role as Alex's grandmom in Grandma's Boy.
Oh, yes.
Grandma's Boy, 2006 film.
I haven't seen that in so long, but I saw it once. I remember it was great.
One of my favorite movies. It still holds up. I surprisingly love the soundtrack. I don't know why I said surprisingly, but it's not only is it a solid movie, it's a solid soundtrack.
Nice. That's pretty cool. So there's a little Tune In Next Week tip for you. When you want to look for a good movie to watch, check out Grandma's Boy featuring the lady of the hour, Doris Roberts.
Yeah, Grandma Lily, she was phenomenal in that movie. She made it for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, great. She will be missed.
She will, indeed. And speaking of things we don't want to miss, shall we crack open the briefcase?
I think it's time to handle a little bit of business.
All right. You want to take it this time?
Let's take it.
Right.
Starting off, let's thank the recording studio, JB Recordings. They record and prepare all of our podcasts. If you or anyone you know has any needs for voiceover music or podcast production, visit www.jbrecording.com. Follow us on social media. We are on Tumblr at tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. You can also hit us up on Twitter at tunein_nextweek. You can also find us on Instagram as well at tunein_nextweek.
As far as listening to us, we are on the TuneIn, which is a great internet radio website. So tunein.com, do a search for us, tune in next week and get all our episodes up there. You can also listen to us on iTunes. We're on Podbean as well, newly added to Podbean. Also on SoundCloud, tunein_nextweek as well.
And special announcement, May 8th, 2016, we are broadcasting live.
We will release details this week. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at tunein_nextweek so you can tune in at the appropriate time on Mother's Day, May 8th, when we will be doing a live broadcast of our show, including video, so you can watch us do what it is that we do.
You can watch us, you can listen to us, you can watch and listen to us.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it, right?
Our business has been concluded.
Beautiful. All right, excellent. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the episode, which is called Lucky Suit, which is one of my all-time favorite episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. Originally aired February 4th, 2002, and Everybody Loves Raymond ran from 1996 to 2005. 9 years, 9 seasons, 210 episodes. So definitely a reputable, respectable career.
Yes. This particular episode, Lucky Suit, is Season 6, Episode 16. This was directed by Gary Halverson. This was written by Tucker Cawley, and it was created by Philip Rosenthal. And one of the credits in the show is this is based on the comedy of Ray Romano. If I can expand on that,
please.
Ray Romano was a stand-up comedian. He famously was a classmate in college of Fran Drescher.
Interesting.
But he was a stand-up comedian in the mid to late 80s. He eventually got on the David Letterman show in the early 90s, and that Letterman appearance, he did a stand-up bit, that kind of propelled him to a CBS deal that started this show. So
nice.
This show says, based on the comedy of Ray Romano, his stand-up bits were primarily based off of his family life.
I was just going to say, so this show is almost like autobiographical, sort of, right?
It's very autobiographical.
Nice.
His twins were born at close to the same time that this show started, and a lot of events in his life really parallel the show. So
very cool.
It's literally based off of his comedy.
Very cool. You know, that I've kind of wondered about that because I've always seen that little tag at the end of the credits or at the beginning of the end credits. You know, and I've often kind of wondered, you know, what does that really mean based on the comedy of? But it makes a lot of sense that it all has to do with kind of, you know, stuff he always used to talk about when he did stand-up.
This is the only show I can really think of that has that in its credit. Can you think of other shows that are based off of somebody's comedy?
Seinfeld?
Based on the comedy of Jerry Seinfeld? It was primarily written by
Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David.
Yeah.
But I don't ever recall seeing a specific tagline that said based on the comedy of Jerry Seinfeld, but actually that's a good point. I don't know if Seinfeld's episodes had to do much with what he talked about in his stand-up, but because I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I'm fairly certain that when he would do his little opening bits, they didn't always pertain to the episode, right?
I don't know. We talked about this in our previous Seinfeld episode. I can't quite remember if that was the case or not.
We might have to review it.
Yeah. Or you know what? Just fuck it. Fuck fact checking.
There we go. Who needs fact checking?
Yeah. Let's dig into the episode. Do you have a plot synopsis?
I do, and I have the one from Netflix because the one from IMDb was one sentence and it was just inadequate. So I have Robert is ecstatic when he is recommended for the FBI job. That is until it becomes apparent that Marie's intrusive ways may be his undoing.
I like it. It really encapsulates what's going to happen in this episode.
It really does. And I have a little bit of episode trivia, which I pulled from IMDb. I thought this was kind of interesting just before we jump into it. This is one of 2 episode submissions that won Brad Garrett, who plays Robert, his first Emmy for Everybody Loves Raymond. The other was Raybert, which I guess is another episode. This was one of 2 episode submissions that won Doris Roberts her second consecutive Emmy for Everybody Loves Raymond. The other one was Marie's Sculpture.
Wow.
So both Brad Garrett and Doris Roberts won Emmys as a result of this episode.
I did not know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Cool. So let's jump into the episode.
Yeah, so this one, and this is actually has gone on for quite a number of seasons. This show does not start with opening credits or a theme song, something that we're used to.
Yeah, there's no real sequence.
There was.
Yeah, and I think it's season 1 and 2 or just 1.
I think it was just 1.
Okay.
Maybe it was 1 and 2. I don't even know.
Because I remember seeing it, and it was Ray kind of taking you through his family life, saying, "Hi, I'm Ray. I live in the Bronx or Brooklyn or wherever he lives. I forget. And this is my family and blah blah blah." He kind of like introduces you to everybody.
Yeah, he's outside though. He's putting together a playhouse for his kids,
right?
And it goes through that sequence, and then it's the piano that we hear in the background, and then it kind of just jumps into the episode.
Yeah, but so here we are with I guess. So would we call this a cold open?
I just call it just the start of the episode.
Show open, yeah.
Yeah, the show opens. It opens up with the family in Ray's house. We've got a title card in the corner, and then we've got kind of credits that go underneath of that. But Ray's brother Robert comes in with fantastic news.
Now, I'm just curious because I've seen this on other like shows. I don't know if this is just a personal thing, but what's the deal with just barging into other people's houses, even if it is family? Like I have trouble walking into a house that's not mine.
Well,
like I feel like I want to ring the doorbell and, have someone, say, sure, come on in. So like I've had other family members tell me, oh, just come right in. I don't know why, but I feel weird about that. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you could just kind of walk into relatives' house?
No, I don't. But I kind of walk into your house though.
Well, we kind of haven't.
I do kind of walk in your house. I know what you're saying. I really do, and I don't like it. And I still feel kind of like a twinge. Like I'll catch myself. I'm about to ring your doorbell, and I'll stop. I'm like, no, just go in, Brian. Just go in. But with this family, it's something that's ingrained in them.
Yeah.
Their parents live right across the street. And this was something that was addressed earlier in the show and early seasons as well. They talk about this, but they're so used to it now that they always leave their door unlocked unless it's at night and like that. But they just have that close relationship where everybody comes and goes as they please. I gotcha. I don't like it. I'm not into it. Even though I have that relationship with you, so it is what it is, but I'm just not entirely comfortable. I wouldn't want somebody to just walk right into my house.
Yeah.
If I knew you were coming over to my house and it was a thing, I would leave my door unlocked and let you walk in.
Yeah.
But only if I knew that you were imminently close.
Yeah, and that's the reason I leave my front door open when you're coming. But normally, my front door's locked when I'm here, like even by myself.
Yeah.
But
I just don't trust nobody.
Yeah, exactly. But I am not an advocate of leaving your front door open if you don't feel comfortable doing so. But I only leave my door open when I know somebody's coming. For the sole reason of just not having to go down the stairs to open it,
Yeah.
Sure, call me lazy, whatever, but, hey, if it's my day off, Yeah. But that being said, people just come and go right into Ray's house, and like even later on, when Frank walks in, later on he walks in, sits down, turns on the TV like he lived there and owned the place.
Love that. Love it.
It's funny, but like if that were me, I'd get really pissed. Because it's like, dude, if you want to watch TV, you can watch TV at your own house.
But also think that we're 6 years into the show at this point. where this is something that has been addressed previously. At this point, let your dad come in, sit down, watch TV.
Sure, I get that. Anyway, but we're not going to get too far into that. Anyway, okay. So Robert walks in. He has this great news. What's this great news that he has?
He put in for and has been accepted to interview for a job with the FBI.
That's awesome, especially for a New York cop. You know, it's a nice upgrade.
Yeah, and he's very, very excited about it. But as soon as he comes in, it's jokes and jokes and jokes at Robert's expense.
Oh yeah, but isn't that always the case? Isn't he always kind of the brunt of jokes?
It is.
I don't know what that means. If you love.
Apparently, Siri wants to get in on this podcast.
We're gonna turn that off.
All right.
So,
hey
yeah.
Siri.
So he comes in, and my favorite joke right off the bat is from the dad Frank. He said, "I've got good news," and Frank says something to the effect, "Oh, you found your bull blue," which is in reference to Paul Bunyan because Robert is freakishly tall, so he's implying that, "Oh, Paul Bunyan, you found blue finally." And that made me giggle.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so jokes happen, and then Marie makes a little comment. You're putting in for a job at the FBI? You're so close to retirement from the police squad. Why are you doing this? And he just kind of goes into it. I want to do this. This is the big leagues. I want to go to the FBI. And they just kind of go from there.
Right. And so he's saying, I want to come to your house tomorrow. You can cook me breakfast, and I'll wear my lucky suit.
Yes.
And Marie's like, absolutely. You know, Marie wants to mother him until she can't mother anybody anymore. You know, and that is so endearing for her character. You know, that she wants to be, you know, she wants to do everything that she would do for like her kids if they were going to school, their first day of school, but she's treating her, 40-something-year-old son exactly the same way.
That's endearing to you?
In a way.
To me, it's smothering. I take great issue with Marie in this episode.
There is smothering, yes, but I think there's also a bit of endearingness in there. But more on that later. More
to come.
Yes. So after he kind of plans on this, starting out his day with his special breakfast and lucky suit, now we cut over to breakfast at the parents' house.
Yes.
And, and Frank is sitting there. I've always thought this was hilarious about Frank's character. He's so manipulative. He's like, hey, you want some juice? And, Robert's like, no, I'm good. And he's like, you sure you don't want any juice? He wants juice, but he's not going to say, get me juice until he tries to get someone else to come up with the idea of going to get juice.
Yes, I love that.
He's so lazy and so funny at the same time.
And this was a thing that went through this entire scene. He was doing everything he can. His main goal is get me some juice.
Yeah. And he's not even phased at the idea that his son may be joining the FBI, or he's not even phased about that. He's just like, dude, I want juice.
Yeah.
His priorities are way off base.
Oh, he's a very simple man. He's got simple pleasures.
He does, absolutely.
He likes juice in his cup and pancakes on his plate.
That's right. So Marie shows up. She's got Robert's lucky suit jacket, and she says, here, put this on. I ironed it for you. And, and then she's like, here, put this trench coat on. It makes you look more FBI-ish. Which I thought that was kind of funny.
I thought that was funny, too. And I was just like, all right, Marie, you're just being extra controlling. But then come to find out, the reason why she wants him to wear the trench coat is so nobody sees the burn mark on the back of his blazer.
The massive iron-shaped burn mark.
This is not just, this is... She put the iron down, and she just spaced out for about 5 minutes.
And then, of course, she can do no wrong. So as soon as Robert finds out about it, he's, oh my God, what am I going to do? He's like, what did you do to my jacket? And she says, you got to blame Raymond.
I know. And
it's Raymond's fault. And I was like, come on.
She blames Ray because she saw an ad on TV that said, hey, Raymond Barone, the famous sports writer, is going to be on our television program. And Marie didn't know anything about this.
Right.
It's like, well, why didn't Raymond tell me about this?
Yeah.
What the hell, Raymond? So that caused her to space out and leave the iron on the jacket for too long, which in turn burned it.
Right.
Which in turn ruins the lucky suit and Robert's day.
Right. But, of course, she cannot say, oh, I'm so sorry I spaced out. It's Raymond's fault because he didn't tell me he's going to be on TV.
Deflecting. And
Yeah.
passive aggressive as there
She
ever
is
was.
so passive aggressive.
The definition of passive aggressiveness.
Yeah, totally. So, and even just the exchange when Frank's the first one to notice it when he's sitting down. He's like, hey, what's going on with the back of your jacket? And Marie's like, no, stop, don't mention it. You know, like Frank, you know, this is where you begin to doubt, at least for me, I began to doubt Marie's ulterior motives, because I get that, you know, as a parent, she wants to be, you know, she wants the best for her kids, and she wants to make sure that, you know, her kid is starting the day off right and all that good stuff. But at the same time, does she have malicious intentions, or is she just being overly motherly and smothering and blah, blah, blah? So, like, this is where I start to doubt her, you know, intentions. Is she really trying to sabotage him, or is she just being too motherly?
See, now because I've seen this before, I know how it turns out. But
oh, sure.
Even from the first scene, I knew that she was out to sabotage this because of her knowing who she is as a character,
right,
and hearing her comment in the first scene. Well, why do you want to do that for? You've spent 20 years in the police force already. You're a year away from retirement.
Yeah.
Why would you want to apply for this job? And it was a little aside, a little throwaway comment, but knowing the character and knowing who she is, I know right off the bat she's got
some ulterior motive.
She does have an ulterior motive. And the fact that not only does she not accept responsibility for it and tries to deflect the blame to Raymond, even after all that was broken down by Robert, she did say sorry about it, but in a way that was just, she was not contrite about it at all.
It was disingenuous.
Yes.
Yeah, and even after Robert left, you know, as Robert was leaving, she says to him, she's like, well, just because you're not wearing your lucky suit doesn't mean whatever else you wear is unlucky. I found that interesting.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
You know, but even after he leaves, she does say she feels terrible, and she's, you know, she seems bummed about it, and that's why, you know, they're really keeping you guessing as to what her intention is here. At least they're throwing you another curveball, so to speak.
Yeah.
But now we cut to the federal building at the job interview, and and I found this kind of funny that, you know, Robert's sitting there and he's like cussing out at his suit.
I hate you.
And then the agent comes in and he's like, were you saying something?
I thought, yeah, very, very funny that he talks to the suit and that he tries to gloss over it when the agent calls him out for it.
Yeah.
But lucky suit or no, I thought he looked better in the darker suit.
I agree.
The new suit. So the lucky suit was like a light gray, light blue.
I feel like the darker material looked better on him. I feel like taller people look better in darker suits.
Yeah. The second suit, the unlucky suit, was he wore the same white shirt and red tie that he wore first, but he's wearing dark pants and a dark jacket.
He looked more like a federal agent.
He looked, way more like a federal agent. He looked better in the new suit.
Right. You know, because I don't think I've ever seen Agent Mulder from the X-Files wearing a light-colored suit.
No.
He was always wearing something dark.
Mulder walking around in a seersucker suit.
That would make for an interesting episode for sure.
We need to get some Photoshop going on.
Yeah, right. There we go. So the special agent comes in and he starts interviewing him, saying, oh, you have an impressive police record, 19 years, you got commendations, no disciplinary actions. You know, that's really great. And then a woman walks in and says, here, I have a fax for you. And then this whole part is the highlight of the episode, in my opinion. It's the best part of the whole freaking episode.
It's really goddamn good. She comes in, she gives Robert a glass of water, and she gives the guy the fax, and Robert's saying all the right things.
Yeah.
I love the interview is going well. It's going more than well. It's going great. The FBI agent is responding positively to everything Robert's saying. The facts comes in and
it goes downhill from there.
180 degrees. Just,
yeah, I know it begins with the FBI guy going, "Is this a joke?"
Yeah, terrible joke. So, what's in this fax?
Marie sends this letter to the FBI agent saying, "You have an interview with my son, Robert. I ruined his lucky suit. Please don't blame him. He really wants this job, and, he's a wonderful boy.
If you want to blame anybody, blame me. I'm used to it anyway."
Yeah. But during this entire sequence, as the agent is reading this, Brad Garrett's reactions are priceless.
Yes.
He is so funny without saying a word.
Did you notice that it looked like he had a tear in his eye that was about to drop?
No, I didn't notice that.
I
didn't notice that.
I rewound it, and I'm going to bring something up that I caught on my rewind as well. But okay. As soon as he starts reading the facts and Robert realizes it's from his mom, he freezes completely, but his face just emotes terror, confusion.
He's mortified.
He embarrassment. All of these feelings you can see on his frozen face. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And he's got, to me, maybe the way the lighting was, but it looked like a tear welled up in his right eye and was about to fall.
Wow.
But yeah, so as I rewound it, the laugh track is going because Robert is just very funny in this scene. The studio audience, there's a guy in there that just goes, some guy who laughs so hard that he's just out of breath
the
whole
God,
time.
That's funny.
Maybe we should watch that. I don't know. No. But yeah, that made me laugh as well. So,
yeah, that whole sequence, I mean, I think the mark of a good actor is obviously when you watch them do their craft and you watch them do what they do and you forget that it's a person doing a job, your job might be a taxi driver. Your job might be a pizza delivery person. This person's job is an actor. He goes on a stage or goes on a set or whatever, and he plays different roles. But when I was watching Brad Garrett in that scene, I could tell that, I did not look at him as an actor at all. I could see him as someone who was completely mortified by his mother getting involved with this interview, and he was one of the funniest it was one of the funniest comedic moments I have ever seen on TV, and he didn't say a word.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked the FBI agents. It's 2 for 2.
Oh yeah,
2 for 2.
You got to catch up to me.
I like the FBI agent's delivery of the letter as well.
Oh yeah.
So he reads the letter and then he pauses for dramatic effect, and then he says, "P.S." and Robert goes, "Oh God," and finishes it off.
"Please ask Robert to forgive me. It will mean more coming from you."
And then he says, "Forgive your mother, Robert."
Then we go to a commercial break and we're back at Raymond's house.
Yeah, and Ray is defending him, so you don't even need to hear the sentence that preceded this, but it opens up on Ray defending himself to his mother for what? For forgetting to tell his mom that he's going to be on TV.
Right. And then all of a sudden, the door swings open and Robert is standing there with this look on his face. Again, not saying a word, but you can read his face and his posture and his, he is 100% acting exactly how he feels, and you can see it completely. And I loved it.
He's got crazy eyes.
Yeah.
He's got crazy eyes. So the door just kind of opens, and he's just standing there motionless, stiff, furious, with crazy murderous eyes.
And Marie's like, "Oh, how'd it go?"
How do you think it went?
And then he was talking about how it was going well until the letter came in, and then Marie goes, Oh, I wasn't sure it went through. It was the first time I used the fax machine.
Ugh. Deborah comes over, Ray's wife. She comes over because everybody except Marie can read Robert's face and his body language, and Marie's just kind of like, what's going on? I'm just oblivious to the blind fury that's in front of her.
Right, and all this tension is building, and then right when at the heat of it all, Frank walks in, sits down, turns on the TV.
Yes, that's my favorite part.
Really?
Because there's about to be an explosion of Robert's fury all over Marie, and then wordlessly the door opens. Wordlessly, Frank Barone comes in, sits down in the easy chair, turns on the TV, and just starts watching the game. And I love it. He's I don't care what you guys are doing. I'm gonna watch the game. We're talking here. All right, well, I'll turn it up.
I've always seen Frank as someone who likes to either start shit or keep shit going.
Yeah.
He is a catalyst for sure.
He's very sarcastic, and I love him for it.
Oh yeah. So anyway, Robert is basically just going off on Marie now. He cannot hold back, and he's basically just yelling, and he's like, I can't believe you would sabotage me, and blah blah blah. And finally, it just ends with this super tense moment. He goes, "Stay out of my life."
He calls her out on her shit.
Right.
Calls her out on his shit.
Right.
I can't think, and please correct me if you come up with a counterpoint.
Sure.
I can't think of anything that Robert said that was not true.
I would agree with that. But I think there's two different ways to look at it, because kind of earlier what you said was smothering. I can understand why she was doing some of those things, but there is a limit to what's right, and there's a limit to how far one should go with going overboard and going completely off the deep end. And I think Maria's clearly gone off the deep end with how involved she was with this and, all that stuff. So like she has reached the level of smothering, beyond just mothering and beyond being, a concerned parent. She's gone way far beyond that. So I can definitely align with, and I agree with how Robert was feeling. But I want to ask you, if you were in that situation, would you have treated Marie that way? Would you have yelled at her that way? Or would you have tried to sort of speak more reasonably with her and try to like reason with her and say, look, you really screwed it up?
Well, my communication style isn't the same as Robert's. So I'm not a yeller when it comes to that. It's very, very rare that I get pushed to the point where I start yelling. I'll get quieter in my anger, and I'll speak more slowly and succinctly in my anger, but I wouldn't have let it have gotten as far as it have gotten, and B, I may have gotten to the same conclusion that Robert did if similar events had unfolded in my life.
Yeah.
With talking about manipulative, how manipulative Frank is, the father is, Marie is as manipulative, if not more manipulative, because she plays the simpleton. She plays the oblivious mom who only wants what's best for her son. But we come to find out in the next two scenes, she has had this ulterior motive the whole time. So she, in a sense of, in the light of selfishness and not meanness, but but selfishness definitely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say selfishness, thinking only of what's right for her.
What she wants. I can't forgive. And spoiler alert: Robert does forgive his mother in the end, but this is not something that I could forgive. If you're going to manipulate me to the point where you're interfering with my future, whether or not I get the job or not, you burned my lucky suit, which is, I don't believe that you didn't do that on purpose.
Right.
You send a letter that sinks my chances at this interview, whether I was qualified or not.
Right.
That paints me in a crazy light. And you, as a helicopter mom, that is... no.
In some ways, it's unforgivable.
I cannot forgive that. If you're going to behave this way, how can I trust you to ever be in my life for me to tell you anything that's for you to just to act like this again?
Right. No, I hear you. I think that's valid. That's perfectly valid. So what you're basically saying is you would agree with you would probably react similarly, or you would agree with Robert on how he handled it.
100%. I'm 100%. I wouldn't have handled it the same way, but the conclusion would have been the same.
I would say the same for me. You know, like I do get loud when I get upset. You know, I tend to be someone who can get emotional at certain scenarios. One thing that I am aware of is sometimes I will say something really, really mean to get it off my chest, and then maybe go back afterwards and talk to the person when I have a cooler head and say, look, I didn't mean that. It just kind of came out, that's just a part of me. But I would not have been able to sit idly by with something like that happening, because for me to be in his scenario, sitting in that job interview, being mortified while someone is reading this letter that my mother sent, that would be unforgivable to me, and I would certainly have blown up.
Yeah, for me, I'm a bit more measured with it, because some things you can't unsay. You can't unring some bells. So which is why I'm more measured, and in what I say, I'm more apt to stonewall you to trying to stop myself from saying things that I would regret saying to you.
Right.
If words, they are only words, but they have meaning.
Sure.
Again, there are some bells that cannot be unrung.
Yep.
So it's better to hold back and not say it than have to try to play damage control and put out fires after the fact.
Right.
But again, based off of the situation that had happened in this episode, even discounting everything that had come before 6 seasons of Marie, because this is Marie's character for all 9 seasons of the show.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with Robert. I would have come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Stay out of my life. Stay out of my life.
Right. Absolutely. So, okay. So now we're going to the next scene, and obviously, the last thing that's happens in this previous scene, Robert says, "Stay out of my life," and she says, "If that's what you want, that's fine." Next thing we know, Marie's at the FBI talking to the agent, saying the FBI could really use my son. Obviously, the message didn't get through.
That was funny to me, because it was a somber moment between a son and his mother. They just, all right, fuck you, all right, fuck you, and then smash cut to, come on, my son would be awesome for this job. I laughed out loud at that. I thought that was great. It was well done. It's like one scene to the next.
Yeah, and then the guy's like, "How'd you get up here?" And then she says, "Oh, I talked to the man at the front," and the man at the front said, "Oh, you're the lucky suit lady."
Yes.
She's like, "Yeah." So I mean, like, I feel bad now for any chance Robert would have had. He would have been the brunt of jokes at the office too, because not only is he the brunt of jokes at home, but he'd be the brunt of jokes at work now, because everyone would be like, "Oh, your mom got you the job. Your mom, your mom burned your lucky suit," but blah blah blah. So like, he's already like black sheeped, even though he's not working there. And
in addition to that, this is something they didn't touch on, but a captain at his precinct got him the interview at the FBI,
right? Which
these
his mom had nothing to do with.
These departments talk, so there's a potential that it could get back to his precinct, and he could be suffering for it at his day job.
Yeah, which is all the more reason why parents like that should just stay out.
Helicopter parents. Ugh.
What do you mean by helicopter
They're the
parents?
goddamn worst. I mean that they hover over their kids.
Ah, yes.
And they do you hear about every year it seems to happen, Easter egg hunts. Their kids and their parents, they go to the local community center or the local church or whatever, and they go on an Easter egg hunt, and then the parents are trying to get their kids to win, so they'll steal eggs from other kids, knock other kids over just to get their kids eggs, or you'll have parents come into high schools trying to argue their kids' bad grades.
Yeah, I've heard of that, and I've also heard of when dads will go to Little League games,
Yes.
and they'll overreact because oh no, he was out, he was a strike, blah blah blah, and I've seen them put things up, like signs up that say it's only a game, these kids are not going to college because of this, and blah blah blah. They have to kind of like reel in the parents that are just way over the top, the helicopter parents, as you say.
This episode is an example of a helicopter parent, but It is maybe not at the top. This has happened in real life. I've read stories about parents who have interviewed for their kid.
Oh, sure.
For their kid.
Yeah.
So the kid's outside in the waiting room, and the mom comes in and interviews in place of her child.
Yeah, I mean,
terrible.
Yeah, that I can't think of any other way to say that than just completely and utterly pointless.
Ugh.
Yeah. So anyway, she's interviewing. She's talking to the FBI guy, and we find out through their interaction that the FBI guy says, "I'm sorry, I can't offer Robert the job. There's more people that are better qualified candidates." And then she turns from smothering mother to fuck you. She turns into, oh, well, then you don't need my Robert anyway.
Well, he calls her on her bullshit too. Before we get to that part, he calls her out and she's like, you are obviously sabotaging him. I can tell by the content of this letter. And in addition to that, she's like, oh, no, I just kind of scribbled that off and sent it away. I didn't really think about it. Yeah, you did. I taught a handwriting class for 2 years. Your handwriting was very deliberate. You are deliberately trying to sabotage this guy.
I really like the way he put this. He basically said, and I wrote the quote down, "Do you think that a mother interfering to the extent that you have could help a man get a job with the FBI? There's something else going on."
Boom!
Yeah, that is I can't think of a more succinct way to put this. And you can see there's a genuine moment between there. And you could see Marie just break down. She goes, "He was supposed to retire. He's a year away from not being a police officer, which means I could stop worrying about him. I don't want to walk around with a knot in my stomach. I want him to be safe." Like, that was a genuine moment there.
It was. And I get it. I get her worry. I get the concern. However, your son is in his mid to late 30s at this point.
40s even, I would say.
40s, yeah. 20 years on the force.
Yeah.
It's not like...
He obviously knows what he's doing. I mean,
let it go.
Let it go, let it go.
He's never gotten any disciplinary actions. He's gotten commendations. He obviously is a good cop and he knows what he's doing. Marie should be supportive of that. She shouldn't still be smothering him.
You know what the problem is? They live too close together.
Right.
They live too close together. If they lived further apart, if they had to drive to see each other, then I get close families. I've known lots of people that have close-knit families. I dated a girl who had a really, really close-knit family.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the point of unhealthiness as the Barones, but really close-knit family. And I think that close proximity being too intertwined in each other's lives just leads to this kind of smothering, this unhealthy influence.
Yeah. I mean, there is a...
That's just my opinion. I can't really speak for all.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I mean, I think there is an acceptable level of involvement, but I mean, once people move out and kind of start their own lives...
I don't know, 18 years old?
18 or whatever it is, but like there is a point where once people become their own people and they become independent, there has to be some acceptance of that in order to maintain the relationship, because the paradigm and the dynamic of the relationship changes as people get older. Kids need a certain type of parenting when they're younger, but they need a different kind of relationship with their parents when they get older.
Yes. Yeah.
And that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, so and Marie tried to bribe him with cookies and everything, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's now we're realizing in this moment that Marie is like, okay, maybe I really did want to, maybe subconsciously I really didn't want him to get this job, but then she says, I just want him to be happy, and I know this would really make him happy. Yeah. Then she's like, so give him the job, and then the guy's like, well, I can't because there's other people that are more qualified than him.
And now the script is flipped. Well, fuck you. The FBI is not good enough for my kid.
Yeah. And I mean, just another terrible way to handle that, because it's like,
way to burn a bridge. Way to burn a goddamn bridge for your son. She made it worse.
Yeah. Because she could have said, okay, thank you very much, and left. But, she has to just mouth off to the guy. Then she leaves, and then she has the nerve to ask the secretary, do you validate parking? It's like, what an idiot.
So what if he's not qualified at this time, but he reapplies in 6 months, and now he's qualified? And now Agent Garfield is all like, well, this guy's mom is is cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
I'm not considering Robert Barone. Fuck Robert Barone.
Yeah.
She made it worse.
She did. She really did. Yeah. Unforgivable in my mind. But then now we go over to Robert's place, and Robert lives in this tiny, tiny apartment. And, like, I hadn't seen this episode in a long time, so I just knew that, knock on the door, I knew it had to be her.
Of course.
So, he lets her in, and obviously he's not very happy, but she says, oh, hey, I brought you cookies. Well, no, she didn't really bring him cookies. She brought him the cookies that she tried to bribe the FBI with. So it's like, no, here, take these cookies. I made him, I made him for you, bullshit. And he's like, okay, well, thank you. And just being very, businesslike with her. And, she tries to come clean and says, hey, I went to the diner and I had some, blueberry pie or whatever it was. And I was just thinking, oh, I understand why you feel that way, which I didn't believe a word of that.
Nope.
And he's like, really? It just came to you over pie? Really? And she says, yeah, it kind of came to me. I understand why you might feel the way you do about how I am and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, oh, it didn't have anything to do with you talking to the FBI agent? And she's like, what? Me? Really? It's like, and I mean,
you can't stop lying, Marie.
Yeah, she is a liar through and through. Ugh. And so finally she's like, okay, yep, I went to see the FBI guy and blah, 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 And I mean, like, if she had just been honest the whole time and say, look, I went to talk to the FBI guy, but he said you weren't qualified. And I mean, like, just there's no reason to do all that lying. There just isn't. You're serving no purpose.
She's trying to save face,
and she's failing miserably because he's seeing clear through the bullshit, like a good cop would.
Exactly. So that happens, but he sees her good intentions.
Right, and the other thing is, like, being a good cop, there's plenty of modes for advancement. Because was he a detective? Do you know what rank he is on the police force?
Offhand, I don't remember.
Okay.
Based off his uniform, I think he was like a beat cop.
Yeah, but how many ranks are there? I mean, like, he probably could have worked his way up to, captain, commander, or whatever
detective.
Whatever the highest level of copdom there is. But, like, going to the FBI would be an upgrade. But, like, being a cop, he obviously he wasn't hitting a glass ceiling anytime soon. So, like,
no.
It seemed like he kind of accepted this, and, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the FBI. That's not going to work out. No problem. I'll just, become a better cop.
Yeah, I feel like he was a patrolman.
Yeah, I don't know what
he said his rank, he was a lieutenant.
Okay.
I believe he said he was a lieutenant when he introduced himself to the FBI.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Agent Garfield. Right. But really, he was...
He's got more ranks above that to get promoted to.
Yeah, it's not like he can't... Yeah, you're right. There's no reason for him to not get promoted in the future, especially with the record that he has. But the FBI, obviously...
it's a nice upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got the feeling in that last scene with Marie that he was fine with the FBI not hiring him, and he was totally cool with it. And and I think Marie finally gets it. She realizes that he's happy doing this job, and and whatnot. And he even says to her, "I'll be careful," you know.
Yeah. Of course.
That's all that mothers want to know. You know, like I remember when, you know, my mother would want to know that I was okay and I was being careful and everything. That's just a mother thing.
It is a mother thing, and you can't hate on that.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. So now we're back at Ray's house.
Yeah, the final scene of the episode, the family is all at Ray's house.
And they're waiting to watch Ray's big TV debut.
Yes, and one of Ray's kids heard about Robert's lucky suit getting burned. So what did they make him instead? They made him a lucky crown.
I thought that was the cutest thing ever.
It was pretty cute. Yeah.
That was adorable.
And he puts it on. It looks like a really tall cardboard yellow Burger King style crown.
Right. And Robert loved it. You could
loved
tell
it,
Robert
yeah.
loved it.
He
And
loved it, especially after the show was going to come on, but then it was interrupted by continuing election coverage.
Yeah, and then of course everybody's bummed, but Robert's sitting there like, "Hey, this hat's pretty lucky after all."
Yeah, I'm gonna put this back on.
Yeah, and then roll credits. So
Yeah.
great ending to a great episode.
Yes.
Okay, highlights and lowlights. So this is I've been waiting for this since we started this episode recording. My highlight here is the entire scene where the FBI agent is reading the letter to Robert and Robert's reaction.
That was your highlight, that one scene.
That entire sequence, because Robert's acting, his like nonverbal acting was so damn funny.
Yeah.
And, you know, like to me, if I were a member of like the committee that nominated people or awarded people for, you know, Emmys and whatnot, I mean, that to me, he earned his Emmy right there, because he made me laugh without moving, without saying anything, just his reactions, his nonverbal, his facial acting was hysterical to me. Right. And I loved that whole scene. You know, his reactions to the FBI agent's reading of the letter, that was a highlight of the episode for me.
I'm telling you, go back, rewatch that scene, look at his face. Brad, I swear he's got a tear in his right eye waiting to drop. And also pay attention to the laugh track, also, the studio audience.
Yeah. And there's a part of me that thinks he didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, obviously that was probably all in the script, and he is as good of an actor as we think he is.
Sure.
But there's also a part of me that thinks that part was left out of his copy, and he was like hearing this for the first time and reacting as any one of us would have if our moms had sent in such a letter to a job interviewer. You know, like his reaction was so genuinely mortifying.
I think I would have cried also.
Yeah, so that was the highlight for me. What was the highlight of the episode for you?
My highlight was the parents, Doris Roberts and Peter Boyle.
Yep.
Both together in tandem, they made me laugh the most. Of course, especially Peter Boyle.
Sadly, both are not with us anymore.
No. I love Frank's relationship with Marie. How they have like a love-hate. They care about each other deeply. Of course they do. But there's always jokes about them spending time apart from each other as being a treat. But I love their back and forth. I love the characters themselves. I love their relationship. I love everything about them, how they interact with their kids, all the other cast members in the show. Right. It's great. I love them both.
Excellent. And so how about a low light for you? Were you able to come up with a low light?
Yes, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, I guess. Drum roll. My low light is Marie in this episode.
Okay.
Marie and her selfishness, her handling of her relationship with Robert was reprehensible. Totally selfish. One of my least favorite thing in the world is overbearing parents.
Okay.
Moms, dads, both together. Overbearing parents are my least favorite thing. Let your kids be kids.
Yeah.
You're there to guide them. You're there to teach them, but let them be them. And Marie personifies this. As much as I love her, she is the reason I watch this show.
Interesting.
I love Ray Romano. I love Peter Boyle.
Yeah.
I love Patricia Heaton. But the reason I watch this show is Marie Barone, as much as I hate the character.
Interesting.
But so my low light is, as I said before, is her character and her selfish actions in this episode.
Okay. Well, I can certainly respect that, and I would agree with you on that. You know, that is her conduct was certainly very her conduct was completely unforgivable. But I actually was not able to come up with something that I did not like in this episode.
Oh, something, anything.
Well, but my low light is the fact that we lost a brilliant comedian.
That is a legitimate low light.
So, my low light is just the fact that, Doris Roberts is no longer with us. But, she certainly leaves behind an incredible legacy and an incredible, career. She died at the age of 90. She was even still active in 3 projects at the time of her death.
Oh, wow.
She started acting in 1951. She was in the business for 65 years. She started at the age of 26. She was in every episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Every single one.
Single one.
Her and Ray were the only 2 actors, I think.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I believe so.
The only 2 actors that were in every single episode.
Yep. She was just an amazing, amazing person with, so much energy, and she was working right up until the end. I was looking at IMDb about her, a couple of hours ago, and I just wrote down this very simple quote that she has: "Everybody's a teacher if you listen."
Beautiful.
That's such a beautiful quote from her. It's so true. You can learn so much from everybody that you deal with, and even in a situation like this, you can learn just from reading how someone interacts with a situation. You can learn from that, and you can take that as you wish, or you can do that with that, and you can do whatever you want with that information. But you can learn. We're never in a situation where we are not learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's just succinctly and beautifully said. I actually want to go to a special segment because we have a special guest.
Special guest.
That's right. My brother Tom, actually, he is a huge fan of Everybody Loves Raymond, and he wanted to weigh in on some stuff here. So actually, we're going to go to a pre-recorded chat that I had with him. So let's go to it. We're recording now, so just want to say welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thank you. It's nice to be on.
So one of the things we wanted to ask you here was, how did you get into Everybody Loves Raymond? Like, what's your story with it?
Just watching it one night. You had nothing else on, and I decided to sit and watch. And I mean, what's better to watch this dopey couple from Long Island that has the wife is very attractive and smart and responsible, and the husband is a total loser, a horrible father, and the laziest human being. The parents are the biggest Budinskis. The mother has this weird hold over the 2 sons, and the father is gross. And it's just a funny thing to watch. And can't forget Robert, the older brother, who always gets left out. And he's the victim at every episode. There's always an issue with him.
Yeah. And especially this one. So the episode we did, right?
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Nice. So, do you remember when was the last time you saw that episode?
Not too long ago, maybe a month ago.
Cool. Okay. Do you remember what would you say is your favorite part of the episode, or your favorite thing about it?
The best part is Robert's face when he's sitting at the FBI interview,
yeah.
His lifelong job, and he's sitting there, and he's being interviewed by the special agent, and he's answering a question. The secretary walks in, hands the FBI agent a piece of paper, and then he says, "Is this a joke?" And Robert says, "I don't know what you're talking about." and he says, I just got a fax this is the fax I just received. And the agent reads the fax, and Robert's face is priceless.
Tom, did it look like that he was about to cry?
No. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know should he try to defend the mother, or should he try to explain how much of a nut job she is. He had no idea where to go except sit there and just listen to more of it.
Sit there and take it.
There was nothing else he could do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because at the end of all of our podcast episodes, Brian and I talk about, what our highlights and lowlights of the episodes are, so our favorite parts and our least favorite parts. And everything that you just said is exactly what I said is my favorite part, was Robert's reaction to that letter. And his facial acting was brilliant. It just absolutely brilliant.
It was great. And then you have to give Brad Garrett credit when they go the next scene when they're at Ray's house.
Yeah.
And the door opens and there's Robert and he's got that look on his face like he doesn't know what he should do. Should he kill his mother or should he just, scream at her until, he can't go anymore, and that's, eventually what he does.
Right.
Yeah, thankfully he doesn't kill her.
Yeah.
Because she's
the
the best part of the show.
The show wouldn't go on if the mother died right there because of her fax to the FBI.
But that'd be a hell of a way to go, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So now, what if that was you? What if you were, you were in Robert's position and you were applying for a job and mom sent a letter like that? Would you have handled it the same way Robert did?
I probably would have gotten up and walked out of the interview because there's no way to. How can you explain Marie Barone? You can't.
Yeah.
There's no way to explain. You don't know where to start with the description of her.
Yeah.
And then I probably would have went home or to my brother's house and found my mother and tried to, figure out what was her motive behind sending a fax like that to the FBI, a job I dreamed of my whole life.
Yeah.
Would you yell at her though, or how would you have handled that?
Yeah.
You would yelled at her?
Yeah, there definitely wouldn't have been a 2 minutes of staring and no blinking. And there definitely, one of the classic lines in that episode is when Deborah says to Robert, Marie, why don't you go over here? And Robert, why don't you blink?
Yes.
That's one of the best lines in that episode.
Yeah.
But Mom would have definitely gotten an earful for a few minutes about how she basically ruined any hope I had of becoming an FBI agent.
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about towards the end of our recording, imagine if he got hired, he would get so much ribbing from the other agents about his mom, and somebody, I guess his captain recommended him for this job. So I can only imagine if that agent talked to the captain and then this got back to him at the precinct, he would never live it down.
Right. A lot of people in law enforcement definitely have contacts, definitely have friends. So the entire East Coast law enforcement, federal and municipal, definitely would have heard about this crazy giant and his lucky suit and his interfering mother.
Giant.
Yeah.
Tom, I got to ask you though, would you have ended your relationship with your mother if that had happened?
No.
That's forgivable.
Of course, screaming and arguing and kind of
some time away.
Yeah, fighting it out, but you would have reconciled eventually?
Yeah. You only have one mother. Any rational person knows you only have one mother.
I agree.
So no matter what her reasoning was, which obviously you find out later in the episode, you find out what her real reason was for the facts, but it's still, she's still your mother.
Yeah.
So you still have to respect your mother.
Absolutely. And what better way to open up a dialogue too? I mean, obviously she's going nuts on being really smothering and doing her thing, but I mean, what better way to open up a dialogue and say, look, you're taking it too far, because for all she knows, she's just being a loving mother.
Right. But in this episode and other ones of Everybody Loves Raymond, Marie, when she gets backed into a corner and her motives are questioned, the first thing she says is, "I do it all out of love. I love too much." So
yeah,
it's a giant fault of hers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything else you want to throw in about the episode?
Well, another good part is at the end when Marie goes to the FBI office and she's trying to explain. She's trying to explain the reason, and he says to her, I read your facts, and then he says, I did handwriting analysis. I taught handwriting analysis in the academy, and she goes, well, I always did so well in penmanship in grammar school, so I don't know where you're going with this. That was really funny too. Just a true testament of somebody's questioning what she's doing.
Yeah,
and she's spinning
deflecting
around on them, right? And then the truth comes out. He was supposed to retire. I want him to retire, and But no, one of the all-time classics of Everybody Loves Raymond is the Lucky Suit.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule here to talk to us here. It's great having you here.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Awesome, and we'll definitely be talking to you again when we do the A-Team.
Okay, yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, cool. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, take care, Tom.
You too.
Perfect. Awesome. So that was recorded kind of outside of when we did this here, but I just wanted to give him a chance to make an appearance here and kind of talk about the episode, because he is a huge fan of Everybody Loves Raymond, just like us.
Like us. Yeah.
That's right. And that is pretty much going to do it for us here on this episode of Tune In next week. So, please be sure to tune in on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 8th. We're going to be doing a live streaming episode. We're going to be streaming to YouTube. So we're going to be tweeting the link. So follow us on Twitter at TuneIn_next week, so you can see the link to tune in and watch us do our thing and listen into us. By all means, follow us on Tumblr and Twitter, TuneIn-nextweek. .tumblr.com, TuneIn_next week on Twitter. We would love to have you interact with us here. Tell us what you're thinking. Shoot us a message, hashtag it up, and don't forget to tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
And now, cue the music.